The cup never made it to the floor. It slipped from her hand the second I stepped out from behind the bookshelf, but it didn't fall completely. Her fingers scrambled and caught the handle midair. All she managed to say was, "Kurt!" I raised one finger. Just one. "Don't," I whispered. My voice cracked like it hadn't been used in days. You know what's wild? The tea was still hot, freshly made. There were 2 cups on the table, and one of them wasn't mine. The moment she realized I knew, she froze, like a deer in headlights, wide-eyed and stiff. I looked past her down the back hallway. His shoes were there, size 12s, worn at the sides. He had a limp, some old sports injury she once mentioned. His soles were uneven. He was still in the house. I didn't say anything. She finally exhaled and stepped closer. "Please, don't turn this into a scene." A scene. That word bounced around in my head like a pinball. I saw the mugs, the unbuttoned collar of her shirt, music still softly playing from her phone. I hadn't even meant to be there. I was supposed to be at my cousin's barbecue across town. Left early. Couldn't shake this weird buzzing feeling, like you forgot to turn off the stove but can't remember what you were cooking. And now, here I was, staring at the woman who once used to run her thumb along my jaw to help me sleep. The woman who said I was the only man she ever truly trusted. She moved closer again, but I stepped back. My hand smacked the bookshelf behind me. A picture frame fell, hit the ground, cracked. We both flinched, but not from the noise. From the silence that came after. Then, from the hallway, a cough. A man's voice. "Alora?" She didn't respond. He stepped into the room, hair damp, my towel slung over his shoulder. He froze when he saw me. Just stood there, barefoot, in my living room, in my house, next to my wife. He opened his mouth, shut it, looked at her, then me. And then, this part I'll never forget. Alora sighed, like I had dragged her into something awkward. "Curtis, it didn't mean anything," she said, like she was telling me the rice burned. Those exact words, that exact tone. Something in me settled. I smiled, for half a second. It wasn't bitter, wasn't sad. It was calm. I turned, stepped over the broken frame, opened the front door, and walked out. No yelling, no drama, no slamming the door. I just left. But I know you didn't come here for the exit. You want to know what happened after. Because walking out wasn't the ending. It was the start of the most unexpected chapter of my life. The moment I stepped, outside the world felt louder. The neighbor's sprinkler clicked like it was mocking me. A dog barked 3 times. My car sat in the driveway, sunlight bouncing off the windshield like it didn't belong there. I just stood there, for a whole minute. Didn't move. Barely breathed. You'd think after seeing your wife's affair partner wearing your towel in your home, you'd flip out. But I didn't. I got in the car. I didn't know where I was going. I drove with no destination, letting the road decide. My phone kept buzzing in the passenger seat, her name lighting up the screen over and over again like an alarm I refused to silence. I finally pulled into a grocery store parking lot, empty. Rows and rows of cars that weren't there. I just stared out the windshield, trying to feel anything, other than that crushing quiet in my chest. I opened her last message. "Please don't just disappear. Come back and we'll talk." No sorry, no guilt, no fear. Just logistics, like she was asking if I could pick up milk. I looked up at nothing and whispered, "Did I really let it get this far?" And the answer was yes. Yes, I did. I saw it happening. I felt it. The little things. The night she didn't say goodnight. The new perfume she didn't own. Her laugh changing when she talked to her coworkers. I told myself I was overthinking. I didn't want to believe it. It was easier to pretend than to accept that the person I loved most was slipping away. Every late night, I told myself traffic. Every time she locked her phone, I said, privacy settings. But deep down, I knew. And I said nothing. I guess I believed if I just loved her hard enough, she'd come back on her own. But she didn't. I kept driving until I ended up somewhere I hadn't been in over 10 years. The old train yard by Oakmere Bridge. I used to go there in college when I needed to disappear without actually going anywhere. It was still quiet. Still felt like hiding. I parked near the rusted fence, got out, and walked to the tracks. Sat down on an old stone post and stared into nothing, waiting for clarity that didn't come. That's when my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't her. A name I hadn't seen in years popped up. Gideon. We hadn't talked since my wedding. He was my best man. Moved out west, drifted. He never liked Alora. Said her smile felt too forced. I told him he was being paranoid. I answered, not sure why. Kurt? His voice cracked through the speaker. Hey, I replied, not sounding like myself. He paused. You all right? I almost laughed. Not even close. He let out a long breath. I heard. I blinked. What do you mean you heard? She called me, he said, voice tightening. This morning, said you might do something stupid and I should check in. I stared at the horizon, rust-colored and fading. Of course she did. She said it was complicated, he added. But she also said the guy's married. My chest tightened, so now she's wrecking 2 homes. Great. There was a long pause. Then he said, Curtis, it's not new. She's been seeing this guy for over a year. I froze. How do you know that? She told my sister. Bragged, actually. Said, she finally found someone who made her feel alive again. That line, alive again, cut through me like a knife, so I wasn't enough. I had felt it. But hearing her say it to someone else, that was a different kind of pain. I couldn't speak. Kurt, Gideon continued, come out here. Stay with me for a while. You don't owe her anything. Get some space? Clear your head. I thought about it, leaving everything, disappearing, no yelling, no closure, just gone. But then I remembered something. A small detail I hadn't realized mattered. There was a red envelope on the table this morning. My name on it. Sealed. I didn't touch it. Walked right past it, straight into Betrayal. I told Gideon I'd call him back. Then I got in my car, turned around, and headed home. Because before, I could disappear. I needed to see what was inside that envelope. By the time I got to the driveway, the sun was setting. That golden hour glow that makes ugly things look soft. The same porch we used to drink wine on in October. The same door I painted with her last spring. Now it looked like the front entrance to a crime scene. Quiet, neat, and completely ruined. It felt like I'd walked into an emotionally sanitized crime scene. The weapon? Silenced. The blood? Trust. I didn't knock. It was still my house. The door creaked a little when I pushed it open, and for a second I wondered if they were still inside. If Gavin, the towel-wrapped, wet-haired intruder, was sitting on my couch sipping my ginger ale. But the house was still. Too cold. My eyes went straight to the hallway table. The red envelope hadn't moved. Same spot. Centered. Intentional. Like she left it there on purpose. For me. To find. Maybe it was a peace offering. Maybe a trap. I didn't know. I picked it up. It felt heavier than it should. Inside wasn't just a note. There was a key. Not to the house. It was one of those tiny silver storage unit keys. The kind you forget exists until someone drops one in your hand like it holds a secret. Her handwriting was on the note. Neat, curved, almost too perfect. Cold even on paper. If you're reading this, I know I can't explain what I did, but I didn't lie about everything. Please go to Unit 119 at Lockbox Storage. You deserve to see it. After that, I'll accept whatever you decide. That was it. No, I'm sorry. No, I love you. Just a location. A breadcrumb. The next step in the fallout. I don't know what I expected. Maybe some confession. Something poetic. But this was so Laura. Precise. Calculated. Empty. Like always. I stared at it for a moment, folded it once, tucked it in my pocket, and walked out. No jacket, no bag. I didn't check upstairs. I didn't care if she was there. I just left. Lockbox Storage was 15 minutes away on the other side of town, wedged in a neighborhood with busted sidewalks and flickering streetlights. I pulled into the lot, found Building C, walked past a dozen other units, until I stood in front of 119. I just stood there a moment, key in hand, bracing myself. What was I even expecting? Letters? Photos? A signed divorce agreement? My fingers trembled as I turned the lock. The metal door clanked open, and inside wasn't what I thought. It was my stuff. All of it. My old journals, college sketches, that blue sweater she said got lost in the laundry, my childhood baseball glove, even the first mug I ever gave her, chipped and faded but still mine, laid out like a museum exhibit. And in the center, one photo. Me in front of our first apartment, holding a pizza box and a droopy bouquet. I remembered that day. She'd just landed her first freelance gig. We had $42 in the bank, but we were rich in every way that mattered. She took the photo and said, "This is what home looks like." I stood there, still. The air smelled like dust and memories. My chest ached with weight I didn't know I still carried. Why? Why save all this? Why hide it? Guilt? Nostalgia? Backup plan? Then I heard a sound behind me. I turned, and there she was, Alora. No makeup, hair up, smaller than I remembered, like the version of her I knew before we had a mortgage and secrets. "I didn't know if you'd come," she said, quiet. I swallowed. "You followed me?" She nodded. "I've been sitting in my car across the street for hours." My eyes stung, but I didn't blink. "What is this?" I motioned at the shrine of our life she'd buried in metal and silence. She stepped in. Slow, like her next. Breath might break the air. "I started saving your things when I felt myself slipping, when I knew what I was doing was wrong. I'd come here, sit. Look at that photo, try to remember what we were." My laugh came out bitter. "Rewind?" She didn't flinch. "You chose him." She nodded again. "I did." The quiet stretched, out like a rubber band about to snap. "It didn't mean anything, huh?" I asked. She stared at the ground. "I told myself that. I had to. It was the only way I could live with what I was doing to you." Her words didn't feel like guilt. They felt like a sentence. And I suddenly understood this was never about me not being enough. It was about her never knowing how to feel anything real. I turned to leave. She grabbed my arm. "Curtis." "What now?" I looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't feel like saving us. I didn't feel like softening my anger for her comfort. I just said, "I don't know, but I don't. Think you get to ask me that right now?" And I walked out, leaving her alone in a room full of everything she once loved and never protected. I didn't go home. I didn't go to Gideon's. I ended up at a 24-hour diner on the edge of town. One of those places with cracked vinyl booths and waitresses who call you honey, no matter how broken you look. I slid into the farthest booth by the window. Ordered a black coffee I didn't want. Stared at the bubbles floating on top like they had something to say. My phone buzzed. I turned its screen down. I didn't need to look. It was her. She'd already texted twice, once asking if I was okay, once promising to respect my space. That last one made me laugh out loud. Respect. Now? In a nearly empty diner, I sat across from my reflection in the window and waited for nothing. One guy at the counter muttering to himself, a teenage couple sharing a milkshake. The waitress brought the coffee, asked if I wanted a menu. I shook my head. My stomach felt like it was full of broken glass. I sat there until the coffee went cold, until the clock hit 12:41 a.m. That's when my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't her. Unknown number, no name, no message preview. Just a buzz and a heartbeat of hesitation. I flipped it over, opened the message. You don't know me, but I think you deserve to know the truth about your wife and my husband. Please call me when you can. I'm not doing this to hurt you. Attached was a photo. Alora and Gavin, at a restaurant I'd never seen, not seated side by side like co-workers. No. They were holding hands, her head on his shoulder, a silver wedding band on his hand. And it wasn't a hidden snapshot. It looked like someone they knew took it. Proudly, she was smiling. That real smile. The one she hadn't given me since our second anniversary. I read it again. My husband. Your wife. I wasn't the only one she destroyed. I called the number with hands shaking like I was gripping live wires. It rang once, twice. Then a woman answered. Hello? Calm. Too calm. This is Curtis, I said, not sure if it meant anything to her, but she let out a breath like she'd been holding it for days. Thank you for calling me back, she said. I didn't know if you would. I didn't know who else to talk to, I told, her. My name is Leia, she said. Gavin's wife. Or, I guess, maybe not for much longer. I didn't respond. I found out last week, she said quietly. I followed him after one of his late nights at the office. I didn't know her name, but in one of the texts, he called her Ellie. My stomach turned. Alora, I muttered, the nickname sounding so childish now, so fake it made me feel stupid. I'm sorry to drag you into this, Leia said gently. I just couldn't sleep knowing someone else was being lied to the same way I was. No, I said. You did the right thing. She went quiet, and then she said something I never saw coming. They talked about moving in together. My heart clenched. What? I overheard them once when he was in the shower, she said. He told her he'd leave me after the holidays. Said you'd probably spiral, but she could manage you. Said she had you wrapped around her finger. That hit harder than anything else. Manage me? I wasn't a husband to her. I was an inconvenience to be handled. Curtis, Leia said softly. I'm not just calling to hurt you. I need to ask something, and I'm sorry if it's selfish. I blinked. Ask. I want to meet you. I think we can help each other figure out what to do next. Because I can't even breathe through this right now. And you seem like someone who knows what that feels like. I looked around the empty diner. Nobody there knew who I was. Nobody knew my life just fell apart. If I vanished, not one person would ask why. Where are you? I asked. She gave me the name of a hotel 10 minutes away, said she'd be in the lobby. I left a few bills on the table, didn't even bother finishing the coffee, and drove, not for revenge, not even out. Of curiosity, but because for the first time since this nightmare began, I needed someone to look me in the eyes and say, I know what it feels like to be lied to in your own home. I needed someone who'd say, me too, and mean it. The hotel was one of those budget places business travelers use when the good hotels are booked. Beige walls, dim lighting, a fake fireplace on loop showing digital embers that never actually burn. Some guy was passed out near the vending machines, and the front desk clerk didn't even look up from his phone when I walked in. It was after 1 a.m. when I spotted her. Leia, sitting alone near the ice machine. Gray hoodie, jeans, a crumpled tote at her side. She looked up and immediately knew who I was. Guess Alora had posted enough of our lives online to make me recognizable. She stood up, uncertain whether to offer a handshake or a hug. We both just nodded and sat across from each other in those stiff hotel lobby chairs that feel like they were designed to punish you. "I didn't think you'd actually come," she said after a beat. "I didn't think I would either," I admitted. She looked older than I'd expected, not in age, but in energy. Worn out in that way heartbreak makes you look. Her eyes weren't performative sad. They were familiar. "I didn't want this to be real," she said softly. "I really didn't." I nodded. "Me either." She pulled out her phone, tapped the screen, then turned it toward me. "There's something I need you to see. It's going to hurt, but you should see it." I hesitated. Then I nodded. She hit play. The video was shaky, obviously recorded, from a distance. Another restaurant, different than the last one. More romantic, tucked away. Alora and Gavin were seated in a booth, talking closely. You couldn't hear every word, but you didn't have to. At one point, Alora leaned forward, touched his face, and kissed him across the table. Then her voice, muffled, but clear enough, "I can't wait until I never have to lie to him again." Gavin chuckled. "He's too soft to leave. You'll have to walk him through it." My throat closed up. I watched them for 5 more seconds, then raised a hand and turned away. Laya muted the video. "I recorded that 2 weeks ago," she said. "I followed him, sat 3 tables away, ordered wine I didn't even drink. I was shaking so hard the waitress asked if I needed a cab. I buried my face in my hands. She told me she wasn't in love with him." Laya tilted her head. "Before or after she said it didn't mean anything?" "After." "Yeah," she sighed. "Mine said the same thing." I blinked. Then I laughed, but it wasn't funny. It just escaped. "God, I'm pathetic." "No," she said firmly. "You're just someone who believed her. Same as me." I looked at her. "Why are you helping me? I mean, why even reach out?" She looked down at her hands. "Because I spent 3 years thinking my marriage was untouchable. And now I just want to know I'm not crazy for missing all the signs. And maybe because I need someone else who understands what it's like to unravel next to someone who can still sleep through the night while lying to your face." We sat in silence for a while. But it wasn't awkward. It was that rare kind of silence that only exists between 2 people who've both lost the same war. Eventually she asked, "So what are you gonna do?" And I hated that I didn't have an answer. I hated that after everything, the lies, the affair, the video, a small part of me still whispered, maybe there's something left to save. "I don't know," I admitted. "What about you?" "I'm filing," she said. No hesitation. "I've already met with a lawyer." I swallowed hard. "That fast?" She shook her head. "Not fast, just overdue. I think I knew 6 months ago. I just didn't want to be alone." That one hit me straight in the chest. I didn't reply. Then she reached into her tote and pulled out something unexpected. A letter. "I wasn't going to give this to you," she said, sliding it across the table. "I found it in his work bag. It's from Alora. I didn't read it. Figured you deserved your own humiliation." My hands didn't want it. My brain didn't want it, but I took it anyway. Dated 2 weeks ago. Handwritten. "Curtis, I don't know how this ends. And I'm scared of who I'm becoming. I miss the version of me that loved you freely. But I haven't been her in a long time. You've been seeing something in me that I thought was gone. Maybe that makes me awful. Maybe it just makes me tired. But with him, I feel new. Not better. Just less broken. I don't know if I'll leave. I don't know if I can. But if I do, it won't be because of him. It'll be because I stopped knowing how to love you the way you deserve. I'm sorry. I think I'm still in love with who we were. That was it. Not even a full page. No love, no yours. Just her name. Sharp. Distant. Final. Laya didn't say anything. She let me read. After a long pause, I said, I think she wrote this hoping I'd never read it. Hoping you'd make the choice for her. Laya nodded. I exhaled. My chest hadn't felt this heavy all week. But for once, that weight came with clarity. She doesn't get to decide anymore, I said. And this time, I meant it. I didn't sleep that night. Laya offered me the extra bed, but I couldn't lie down. I couldn't close my eyes without hearing her voice. He's too soft to leave. You'll have to walk him through it. That wasn't just betrayal. That was cruelty dressed like calculation. And it gutted a part of me I didn't even know I still had. But he doesn't get it. Her voice echoed through the speaker. I need it out. Gavin gave me a door, and now that Curtis is gone, I can start over. He'll come crawling eventually. He always does. He needs closure more than I need forgiveness. I stared at Laya's phone, my brain refusing to let the words settle. I don't think she meant to send it to me, Laya whispered, her voice barely holding steady. But it came to my inbox by mistake, and I figured, you should see it. Before she rewrites the story entirely. Closure, I muttered. She thinks I'm just waiting. She's setting the stage, Laya said, for a version of events where she left because you were unstable. She's already writing the next chapter and casting herself as the misunderstood victim before the ink's even dry. I handed the phone back. I should have seen this coming, I said. Every move she's made, right down to the envelope, the storage unit, that fake confession was staged. A performance. All of it. And Gavin? I asked. Laya glanced toward the building behind us. He's in there. Couples therapy. With her. I didn't believe it until I saw them go in together. My stomach flipped. She hadn't ended. She hadn't made a decision. She was just keeping both of us on standby, waiting to see who'd break first. Let's go, I said suddenly. Go where? Laya blinked. Home. She didn't ask questions. Just followed. When we pulled into the driveway 15 minutes later, her car was already there. Lights on. Porch untouched. Like she'd paused time in my absence. I walked to the door and used my old key. She never changed the locks. I guess some part of her never really believed I'd leave for good. She was on the couch, legs tucked up, scrolling through her phone like it was just another Thursday. When she saw me, her head jerked up. Curtis. I stepped in. Calm. Controlled. Cold. You've been busy, I said. Her eyes flicked toward the hallway. This isn't a good time. No, I replied. It's the perfect time. Laya stepped in behind me. Alora stood up like someone just pulled the fire alarm on her fantasy. You told me it didn't mean anything, I said. And maybe I could have believed that. But now I know. It meant everything. Because this is who you really are when you think no one's watching. She opened her mouth, but I didn't stop. You tried to spin the story, told Gavin I was unraveling, that I'd come crawling back, like I was some wounded dog begging for scraps. I didn't. Don't, I cut her off. You don't get to rewrite history just because you don't want to look like the villain. She looked between me and Laya, scanning for a weak spot. Some angle she could work, but there was nothing left for her to twist. You know what hurts the most? I said. You didn't destroy us for love or happiness. You did it because you were bored. And when you had the chance to leave with dignity, you tried to burn it all down again. She didn't move. No excuses, no tears. This time, nothing. Laya stepped forward. We're not here to fight, she said. We just came to say, neither of us is playing along anymore. I turned to leave. But just before I reached the door, I looked back. You said I always come crawling, I told her. But the truth is, you needed me to. Because if I walked away for real, it meant everything you did actually mattered. And then I stepped out. This time I slammed the door. I thought that would give me closure. It didn't. Not immediately. Not like the movies. Leaving that house for the last time, without guilt, without hoping she'd chase after me, I thought it would feel like stepping into sunlight. But healing doesn't work like that. It's not cinematic. It's slow. It's 2 a.m., eggs in a borrowed kitchen. It's crying over nothing while the coffee overflows. Laya and I sat in the car outside afterward, silent. There wasn't anything else to say about Alora. Or Gavin. That chapter, the one built on lies and denial, was closed. What came next wasn't about them. It was about us. The pages we still had left. I left town 2 weeks later. Gideon had a buddy in Asheville who needed help managing a property. It wasn't glamorous, an old bookstore squished between a barber shop and a bakery. But rent was cheap, and the attic apartment above, it was quiet. I fixed shelves, replaced broken light bulbs, helped host book readings on weekends. For the first time in years, I did something without asking if it was enough for somebody else. Laya and I stayed in touch, not in some clingy trauma bond, just real. Sometimes we sent each other dumb photos, a bird stealing a sandwich, how bad hotel coffee really was. A month after my divorce papers cleared, she messaged me. It's finally not a lie when I say I'm free. Printed that message, framed it, not because it was romantic, because it was honest. 3 months into my new life, I got a package. No return address. Inside was the photo from the storage unit, the one of me holding that pizza box and wilted. Flowers, smiling like I had no idea how fragile joy could be. Taped to the back was a small note. You deserved better than what I gave you. I know that now. No name, no signature. I didn't need one. I slid the photo into the bottom drawer of my desk, not out of bitterness, but because I finally understood, not. Everything that breaks you needs to follow you. That night I walked down to the bakery. Joe, the owner, had started saving me leftover pastries at Close. I sat out front with a croissant that was more butter than bread, and I just watched the street. People living, moving, laughing. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't thinking about Alora. I wasn't thinking about what I'd lost. I was thinking about what I could build, who I might become, and how sometimes the bravest, softest, most powerful thing you can say is, that chapter's over, and I'm still here.